Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. We're continuing the series on the deaths surrounding Ladybird Lake. We're trying to answer the question, is there a serial killer operating in Austin, Texas? Before we get to it, I wanted to ask that you like this video and subscribe. It's the only way that we are able to keep bringing these videos to you and helping these cases move forward. I am in contact with the families of these men who have been found in the waters of Ladybird. They're helping me make sure that the information that makes it into these videos is as complete and accurate as possible. While doing this, I often have the opportunity to interview the families on camera. I had the chance to sit down and talk with Mitchell Gutierrez this morning. Mitchell is the brother of Martin Gutierrez, who went missing in the early morning hours of November 18th, 2018. Mitchell has not stopped pushing for the police to fully investigate his brother's death, as well as pushing for better lighting and other security measures to be installed around Ladybird so this area is much safer. I wanted to give you a quick summary of the details surrounding Martin's death so that while you listen to the interview, you're going to have a better understanding of what's happening. Martin went missing very early Sunday morning after being out on Rainey Street with friends. They visited several bars in the area before Martin left the group and ultimately ended up in Ladybird Lake. Martin was at a bar named Alibi. This is where his friends saw him last. Surveillance video shows him leaving out a side entrance. He walks down Rainey toward Ladybird Lake, and this is where surveillance videos captures him briefly interacting with a white SUV. This is the last known contact anyone had with Martin. He was reported missing to police, who started searching for him. Days later, his body was found floating face down in the water, fully clothed. So let's go ahead and hear these facts from Martin's brother. I appreciate you watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Folks, we're here with Mitchell. Mitchell is Martin's brother. Martin went missing and ultimately passed away. It was in 2018. What month in 2018?
Yes, sir. So he went missing November 19th, 2018, and we found him November 26th.
And it was in Ladybird, right, where he was
Yeah.
found.
Yes,
Gotcha.
sir, it was. Yeah.
Okay, so can you kind of just quickly just kind of go through and tell us a little bit about Martin and so we can kind of get to know him a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So we grew up with a single mom, 4 kids. Martin was the baby out of the group. Such a good kid. He played sports and everything in high school, went to Texas Tech, got his bachelor's degree in business. He used to always come visit us in Austin. He loved it here, man. Like he was always a big fan. Always said, "Oh, Gordo, as soon as I graduate, I want to move in with you and Whitney and all that." And he did. So January 1st, he spent New Year's here in Austin, and the next day he moved into the house. So um, he was only with us for 11 months, but man, it was so awesome. Like we went to the gym all the time. We hung out. We went out. So I mean, we went out and drank on the weekends. So I knew my brother's behavior when we'd get drunk and all that stuff. Like we never did drugs or anything. He's such a good kid. He never even cussed. Who does that?
Yeah,
you
that
know?
that, that's a little rare nowadays. Yeah,
Yeah,
he sounds
just
like a very good young man for sure.
oh yeah, great friend, very family oriented, athletic, always showed up to work on time, dependable. Like he was just a good person.
That's good. Yeah, I've read a lot about him in the last few weeks, and I have yet to hear anyone say anything negative about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's unusual, but I mean, he sounds like a good stand up young man for sure.
yes,
So
sir.
so you said he moved here. Where was he from? Are you guys not from Austin?
No, we're actually from Big Spring, Texas, like near Midland, Odessa. Grew up in a
Absolutely.
little small town outside of there called Kahoma with maybe 1,000 people.
It's out in the
Yeah,
oil fields out there for sure.
yeah. Well, we're growing. We got a blinking yellow light now.
There you
So
go. There you go. Another big spring Texas. Yeah, I'm from a little town up in North Texas called Melissa.
Melissa,
They
Texas,
don't even
nice.
have a blinking light yet. Let's talk a little bit about that night in particular that he went missing. So we were talking just a little bit ago. He was at Luster Pearl. Was he out with friends that night, or was he on a date?
Yeah, so we were at dinner with my now wife and her family and some friends out on the west side of town. And then he was like, "Well, hey man, I'm gonna go meet up with Lynn, who's a good buddy of ours. He was actually in my wedding." He's a CRNA, very
Hmm.
educated, nice guy. He was out with some of his buddies, and so Martin met up with them to go watch the football games, on
Right.
Sunday. And so, he went out with them, was hanging out with those guys. Like we went home, and
Yeah.
so they had gone to one bar previously. I can't remember the initial one, but they weren't there very long. Then they went to Luster Pearl. Martin, according to his receipts on his credit card, debit card, any card that he had on him, yeah, he was only purchased one drink. And then when he got to Alibi, he couldn't even stand. He was leaning over the bar. They didn't
Yeah.
even serve him a drink at Alibi.
Yeah.
So,
So I mean, and that kind of that type of behavior, especially after one drink, that sounds like a roofie or GHB, something, and I know you
yeah.
probably talked to a million people in the last few years, but with all the people that I've talked to in the last few weeks, it blows my mind how many people have stories of being drugged in the bars around Austin. It seems like a
Oh yeah.
very common thing right now, and that's
Yeah.
scary. It's really scary. So when he was at Alibi, you guys do have surveillance video from there, and so you can kind of see what's going on and how he's acting. Um,
Hmm.
when right before he went missing, he was at Alibi with the same group of friends, right?
Yeah, and so he was there. So there's two sections. So you have the inside portion, and then around you got like this like deck area.
Right,
And so where all the friends and everybody were, they were on the inside. And you see Martin like trying to talk to someone next to him, but he's like leaning, like he can't even keep it together.
right,
And so it looks like he goes off to the restroom area. So I guess, my buddies thought, oh, maybe he's just going to go, maybe vomit or pee or whatever. But
right.
when Martin exited, he exited off that back deck. So they never saw him leave the bar.
And that was
And
the
so by
last
the time,
time.
and so that was the last time he was inside of a bar.
Right.
And so he went down towards like the south portion where he took the corner towards Craft Pride. And that's where I have the video of him walking. He's just looking at his phone and he comes around the corner to go towards like I-35, that
Hmm.
little roundabout
I
around
do.
there.
Yep.
And so he was coming straight up across there. He's on his phone and some white SUV pulls up like next to him, stops. He looks over to him and he just maybe about 2, 3 seconds. And he's like, and then like nods his head, gets back on his phone and starts walking. So,
Really.
I went on this whole like wormhole, like was someone trying to be a fake Uber? Was someone doing this?
Right.
So which is a thing,
Oh
unfortunately.
yeah, it
So
is. I've heard some stories of people getting robbed that way about the fake ride share folks pulling up
mm,
and asking for rides. So
oh
the
yeah.
white SUV pulls up. He has some kind of interaction with them. Obviously, there's not going to be any audio on that video, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and then he continues on. Is that the last video that you have of him that night?
That's what I do off of Rainey. And then he goes off towards the service road on I-35 heading towards Ladybird Lake. And so the last footage that we were able to get was at the towers of Town Lake, where he's just walking, like he's looking at his phone. And then I don't know, it was like social media or whatever, because I'd gotten
Yeah.
into his text, his Snapchats, his phone calls. Like we got into all that stuff because he was on my sister's phone plan and there was nothing. There was no request for an Uber, which is wild to me because we
Right.
Ubered all the time. We were pretty darn responsible. And it was so weird to see his behavior. Like, why was he going that direction? Was he
Yeah.
trying to get away, get a cheaper Uber or something? Sometimes if you get a little further away, it's cheaper, but like, uh, it just didn't make sense. And then the last I saw was that, and then it goes into where it wise off, where you go towards that chevron in the front or to
Yes.
that back road,
Right.
and so I got a feeling he maybe took that back road, but
So
there's
there
no proof.
on the video that you have of him after he left the bar, was the white SUV the only interaction that he had with anybody that you can tell from the surveillance?
Yeah, yeah. That otherwise there was no other people. Like you can see him coming around, but yeah, there was nobody that he was
Interaction.
talking to or anything. Like, yeah, no,
So
that was awesome.
you have access to his electronic, his social media and all that good stuff. Do you know about what time the incident took place? Do you have any idea about what time it was?
It was after 1. I know that. I'd have to dig into like all that stuff to get exact times for you. But it was like from 1 to 2 a.m. range. And like he called up a friend of ours who was working at the hospital, unfortunately, works 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Yes.
And so he's like, yo, like, come give me a ride. And she was like, oh, like, I'm working. Like, I can get you afterwards if you need to, whatever, whatever. And he's like, okay. But she kept saying that Martin kept repeating himself,
Yeah.
Mitch, like something was wrong. Like he kept repeating, hey, and she's like, I already told you, I'm at work here. He's like, huh?
So
So,
she even noticed something was
mhm.
off with him. That
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's crazy. And I just don't understand with the police. They keep coming out and saying that all of these men just accidentally made it into the water, and that
Yeah.
blows my mind a little bit because I had read, and I can't remember exactly where I read it at, that Martin, he was, I can't remember if they said that he had swam in high school or he was he knew how to swim. Is that
Oh
true? I mean,
yeah,
is he?
yeah, he wasn't like a swimmer in high school, but man, that kid could fly in the water. He was like the
Yeah.
best swimmer I knew.
So water
Um,
wasn't new to him. I mean,
yeah, no, and then I mean, and even when he went missing, in November, like it was 30 degrees that
yeah,
night. It's not like
yeah.
he was just gonna go. And then also too, when he was found with his shoes, his pants, his jacket,
So when he was
and
found, he was completely, he wasn't missing any articles of clothing. He had.
nothing.
Yeah. So when it comes to the police, how has your interactions with the police been? Do they seem like they are investigating fully, or I've talked to Lori Faber, her brother Randy
Mhm.
Lexvold,
Yeah,
same circumstances ended up, but he was in Shoal Creek. She
yeah.
doesn't have a whole lot of good things to say about the investigation. That she thinks it was rushed, and there wasn't a whole lot of investigating. Do you get that sense at all?
So I felt the same way. I mean, Austin Travis County Search and Rescue did search the water the first day, pretty aggressively. We had the cops were all over social media, the news, everything, and so we had that big upfront like search. Then the next day, maybe a couple people,
Yeah,
but all of our searches contained like maybe 30, 40 people every morning met at the top of Rainey with friends, family, coworkers, and we searched. And the Travis County Search and Rescue said he's not in the water, so
yeah.
we focused our searches elsewhere. And but he ended up being in the water the whole damn time.
That
So that was pretty rough to.
Man, I'm so sorry. I can't even imagine. And now reliving it, over and over doing
Yeah,
these interviews. I very much appreciate it because I've never lost anybody that close to me, but I can imagine exactly how well, I can't imagine how hard it is. But
yeah,
so now that all, this year, all of the, there's been another, three or four men that have been found, same circumstances. Have the
yeah.
police reached back out to you at all?
So actually, we kind of made them. Jason John's family and friend group have been significant in all this. We're
Yes,
pushing for change. Back when Martin passed, man, my family and I were a complete mess, man. We couldn't
can
even
imagine.
think two words to go to city council and all this other stuff. Like, I've been asking for surveillance and lighting and all that stuff for years and years ago.
Right.
But this family, man, they were just so strong, and I just they reeled me in and were like, "You're coming with us,"
That's
and so
good.
I was able to be a big part of going to those city council meetings and all this stuff. Like Jason John's old roommate Josh has been a significant help with all this, man. Kind of like the bridge between all of the families and like Councilman Zoe and all those other guys
Right.
and city like Parks and Rec and all that. So getting everyone together has been a huge help to promote all this change
For
for
sure.
permanent structures, lighting,
Yes.
surveillance, and all that, which should have been done when Martin went missing.
Yeah, Councilman Zoe, he seems to be one of the most outspoken councilmen on this particular issue, and
Yeah.
I've seen his name in some interviews in the news over and over. And so hopefully, I mean, do you get any sense on when, I go down to that area a lot, while we're filming and doing certain things, and
Mhm.
I haven't noticed a whole lot of changes going on other than some fencing going up. But do you have any sense of when they're going to actually start making some of these changes down there?
It's coming up quick. They said the project should be done by mid-June, is what they
Awesome.
were saying. So, and like the police, they've actually been pushed to do more, like making that public statement, which was a joke. But I mean, it's funny because
Yeah,
we made enough noise to kind of rock them where they
for
had to
sure.
say something.
Yeah,
And but during the searches for my brother, like, yeah, I get it. It was Thanksgiving, but man, there
yeah,
wasn't nobody there, man. Like my brother wasn't just a number, dude. Like he was a
yeah.
person. And so like we didn't stop, man. I don't care what day it was. And it just, I don't know, man. It just felt like we kind of got pushed off to the side, and we were the ones having to go find the surveillance. We were the ones sending stuff to the detectives and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I actually had two police officers that had gone to that little Hispanic consortium thing, like up at the
Sure.
top of that roundabout, that were asking for the wrong date of footage. So the staff called me to notify me that because they refused to listen. They're like, no, no, no. He went missing early Sunday, not early Monday.
Yeah.
And so I was like, come on, man. Like, you
So they
can't
were
get
looking
your
for the wrong
officers to.
date. I mean, they
Yeah.
so that is crazy that you went and found the footage. And
Mhm.
did they accept it? Did they look at it? Or
Oh,
I
yeah. I
mean,
mean, I sent them everything. Yeah, I was
yeah,
completely transparent with everything. I was like, guys, here's this, here's that. Like, I was trying to just partake and help. I wasn't trying to overstep or do their
yeah,
job. I was trying to help find my damn brother because they weren't,
right. No, I
you
mean, yeah,
know,
I mean, if they're not doing, I mean, you've got to do it yourself. And I mean, like I said,
Mhm.
that's your brother. You're going to do everything that you can, to make
Everything.
sure that you find out what's happened. So that, yeah, that blows my mind that they did not do that. So were you
Yeah.
able to get? I know on the Come and Talk It yesterday, y'all were talking about the Halo cameras that the city uses. Did they give up any of that surveillance footage to you from there, like the red light cameras or any city owned cameras in that area?
There are zero cameras on Rainey Street. Zero. There's 41 off of like all the Sixth Street bars. 41
Yeah,
of them I had heard,
but not on
and
Rainy.
zero. There's absolutely none.
Yeah, we went down and counted. We went down not only the city cameras, but from the bars and the establishments there. We went down and counted. There's very few cameras in that area. It it,
Yeah.
it
And
it's
then,
it's amazing.
yeah.
Hold on
And then,
one
like,
sec
you
here.
figure those little, all good,
So
all good.
the cameras, yeah, it's crazy to me that there are, and that's a very popular area. You would think that
Yeah.
there would be a lot more cameras in that area, and we went down and counted, and there's just not that many. And
Yeah.
the city has those. They even have the mobile Halo cameras that they can set up temporarily, and I don't think there's any there as of today. I was down there a week ago and it still didn't see any.
No. And so, but what they did do is apparently they got EMS and park rangers to be there from 6 p.m. to midnight
Yeah.
from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then they're going to see if the Austin Police Department can get from midnight and on there. Cause I mean, I think that's the most important time to cover is after midnight.
Yes, for sure.
So, but yet, and then I was doing an interview with Spectrum News the other day, and me and the guy, we're walking, and there's two APD, police officers walking the trail.
Right.
Um, I'm just like, you don't believe me. You don't believe there's any foul play. You don't believe anything's happening, but your actions are speaking differently.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there was a TikTok video where a lady, I think she was a bartender, she was talking about how there was some FBI, Texas Rangers, and some other
oh, wow,
investigators on Rainey Street within the last week or so, asking questions about
good.
these deaths. So I definitely think there is much more going on than what they're leading on, and I cannot understand why APD is not coming out and discussing this more. I mean, you know, I don't understand why they're being so hush hush about it.
I wonder if they know something they don't want to break their case, or if they got leads or something. Like, yeah, I would hope to think that would be the reason they're holding something from us.
Yeah, yeah, and
But
even with families, you would think that they would be, even if they're not going to come out publicly and talk about it, they would at least come to you and say, "Hey, kind of keep this quiet." But we've
yeah,
got something going on. But
yeah.
so with Martin, you know, I don't understand how they think that a young man, he was young. How old was Martin?
He was 25.
25-year-old young man, very fit, a very healthy looking young guy, and how he ends up, they think that he could accidentally end up in the water. And one thing, when I was talking to your wife, we were talking about he had a blunt force injury to the back of his head, correct?
He did. He did. Yeah, blunt force injury to the occipital portion here. Yeah, so the back of the head. But I mean, like I said, Martin was a big kid.
Yeah,
So if he was walking around, he's looking at his phone. Like, you're not just gonna um I mean, you can convince him
right.
maybe to get into your vehicle because we're very naive from a little small town. Like I said, like if someone said, "Hey, sir, I have a flat tire. Can you help me? Martin would have
Right.
been like, here, I will
Let's
help
do
you.
it.
Like I will
Yeah.
do, let's take care of you. Like we were just nice people. Like that's what you did, you know? So I got a feeling, just being that vulnerable and naive, to try to help people
Yeah.
take advantage of that, unfortunately,
Did
so.
when they did the autopsy, did they address that? Did they tell you how it could have happened, or if it was during the end, the accident where when he ended up in the water?
Well, they kept talking about how, oh, well, he could have just fell in the water and hit his head or something like that. But what's odd is that when you get hit in the head, you bruise, like he had a bruise and he had a bleed, right? So if that would have happened and then he was dead already, like if he would have fell in the water, hit, and then would have been in the water the whole time, he wouldn't have bled because he was dead.
Right.
So you
Exactly.
think, all right, someone hit him in the back of the head, he was bleeding, and then was thrown in the water. That's
Yeah.
what I think. Like this is just like you can't say these things. And like the autopsy was such a nuts and bolts BS report with a lot of missing information, plus the drug screen that they did. Of course, it does all the basic agents, but it
Yes.
doesn't check for like the date rape drug. It doesn't,
Right.
there's so many like alternatives that people use these days that don't pop
Yeah.
up on a basic talk screen. So
Yeah, I believe I talked to some people that's associated with the medical examiner's office, and they do kind of basically what they're testing for, as far as I understand, is like if you're going in for a drug screen for work, amphetamines, cocaine, heroin, those kind of drugs.
yeah.
Do you know? Did they keep any blood samples to test? Do they have any of that evidence still that they could go back and
So
test with?
that's a good question. My wife and I are going to actually request and see if there's any tissue samples or something that we got to get a second opinion, man. Like
For sure.
now that we've got enough attention and made enough noise, like I feel like people are actually supporting us now, not only from like the city, but social media, the news. Like we got so much support now,
Yes.
that now, I feel like, my brother's case got brushed under the rug way too quickly. We never
Yep.
stopped.
That is
And yeah.
yeah, I've heard that from every family that I've talked to so far, is they feel like it was rushed and it was kind of swept under the rug, so to speak. But
Yeah.
whatever we can do to help as far as getting eyes on this to try to get them to to test any samples, please let me know. We'll, be happy to put it publicly and kind of get some public support behind it for sure.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Because I think that's important, and I, I would think that they have samples. Surely, is his case still open, or did they
Now,
close it?
as soon as the autopsy said that it was ruled as accidental,
They
they
closed it.
closed it, and there was never any other word about it.
Yeah, that I thought that they would have kept it open because Randy Lexvold passed away in Shoal Creek. They kept his case open. It's open but suspended. So I was thinking maybe all of these deaths were suspended since they are still investigating. We'll put
Yeah.
quotes around still investigating. But
Yeah.
hopefully they still have some samples. I would hope all of these men they have some samples that can go, because that right there would answer a lot of questions very quickly.
hmm
So
I mean, yeah, I agree with you.
yeah.
So hopefully,
Well, I appreciate you talking with me. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Mitchell Gutierrez. He is absolutely 100% committed to finding out what really happened to his brother Martin. He's also committed to getting some extra safety measures put in down there on Rainey Street, so this type of thing doesn't keep happening. We're going to help him in any way that we possibly can. If you have any questions about the case, any questions in general, please send me an email. The email address is up there on the screen. Also, visit our website. There's loads of information and links to other projects we're working on. See anything from the homeless stuff that we do, homeless people that we help, all the way to the true crime. Also, please subscribe to the channel. It's really the best way to support what we're trying to do here, and the best way to help us get the word out. So until next time, thank you, stay safe, and we'll see you then.